This is going to be quite the unboxing. This shipment is from Craft-a-Brew, which is known for making homemade mead kits. If you aren't sure what mead is, it's a beverage made out of fermented honey. So it is an alcoholic drink, and it's one of the oldest alcoholic drinks out there, and it's a personal favorite of mine. What's interesting is this is the very brand that I received when I got my first mead kit for my birthday, gifted by one of my dear friends, and it's a gift that continues giving because I can wash and reuse, right? The thing is, mead takes a long time to brew, so I know that they have included a mead making kit along with a few of other extra accessories that I didn't have before, so really interested to see what is in this box, plus with the added bonus of getting to make more than one batch at a time. Let's get into it with my medieval spoon. Mead is in fact typically a sweet beverage. However, when you make it at home, you'll realize that it actually will start out kind of dry because the sugars have been eaten up, so to speak, by the yeast that is being used to ferment it. A lot of times you'll do what's called back sweetening, and this is why I like to make my mead at home, because I tend to like slightly drier beverages. I don't like it too overly sweet, and that's something that I come across quite a bit in many mead brands across the board. They're just a little too sweet for my taste. When I'm able to make it at home, I can sweeten it to my personal preference, and then if I have guests over, I can sweeten even more if I need to. So it looks like they've included 2 mead making kits, which is all the better for me because that's more mead for everybody. They include pretty much everything you need to make mead except the honey. All honesty, it's as easy as they make it look. It will include a gallon glass carboy, an airlock stopper, racking cane and tubing, yeast, nutrient and sanitizer, funnel, and a guide to making mead. Now there is more than one way to make mead because there's ways to flavor it and add different kinds of flavor combinations beyond just the honey that you use. Racking cane and tubing is how we get it from one carboy to, say, bottling or even another carboy if we're trying to make it more of a cleaner pour. But we'll get into that later. This is our second kit. Ooh. I take it back. They did include some honey. This is quite exciting. Clover honey. The predominant flower that the honeybees took their nectar from were clovers, so it's going to have a very flowery finish. This is raw and unfiltered, so this is going to be exquisite, high quality honey, and it's just going to make everything taste all the better. Ooh, so remember when we were talking about back sweetening? They sent a back sweetening kit. This is awesome. So this will include some potassium sorbate. The thing with back sweetening is when you're adding sugar back to your beverage, you may still have some activity going from the fermentation. So if you don't have the proper type of airlock that can release pressure as needed, you can actually explode the bottles that they're in. So potassium sorbate is the most common stabilizer, and this is going to not alter the flavor, but it's just going to make things stop where they are. No more fermentation. We're just sweetening for our own flavor, not to feed the yeast to make them wake back up again, so to speak. So in here is the potassium sorbate and even more clover honey. So we'll save this for back sweetening when it comes time. And the directions are there. They truly make this foolproof. I think we can move that larger box out of the way now. What's in this third box is wonderful. I know what these are. Whole box of bottles with swing top lids. This is going to be fantastic. This is my favorite thing to use for storing my mead once it's finished. Looks like this came with 8 bottles. You can never have too many bottles. Once you get into mead making, you will find that you never have enough of these. So this is perfect. I actually have another batch that I am getting ready to bottle anyway, so this could not have been timed any more perfectly. I'm going to tuck these away for now because before we get to this step, well, we have to make mead. So both of these boxes are the same. These are 2 sets, which is wonderful. Typically, I leave mead to brew for at least 6 weeks. 4 weeks is like the minimum. 6 weeks is, I think, that sweet spot, no pun intended, in letting it round out all of the flavors, complete all fermentation, and reach whatever percentage of alcohol it's going to achieve. So in other words, having more than one kit is going to keep me busy, and I will stagger it just so that as one is finishing, I can be starting another one and never be too impatient to let them finish. Very easy guide. I actually have this already, but of course in every kit it's going to come with very easy to follow directions and resources. So you have a nice QR code on the back, different recipes, about choosing what type of honey you want to use. There's so many great combinations out there. I'd love to get my hands on some blueberry honey from like the Vermont region. Blueberry honey is like the best honey I've ever tried in my life. There's recipe variations like a sizer and a melomel. This is when we add like fruits and things. So when you see a different blend to your mead, that's when it starts being referred to these other types of variations. And then of course it covers back sweetening as well. It also shows how to get from the carboy to all of the different bottles that you'll need to bottle it with. I find this to be the most challenging step out of the entire process. So I'm excited to see what they've included to help with that process. So this looks like the airlock and stopper. This is going to have a vent system. Let's open it up. This is probably the most amount of pieces that you'll really need. It's not an overwhelming setup at all. This lid pops off and this will float. You'll fill this vessel up with water up to the fill line, set that on top. It'll float a bit once there's water. And then as you can see, this cap has holes for ventilation. So this will allow, once it's in the stopper, to monitor how much fermentation is going on. You'll use this to see the bubbles forming and rising to the top. But it has this venting system so that if it reaches a certain level, it'll allow that air to escape without completely exploding your carboy. This is the stopper. And this gets attached like that and into the top of the carboy. This is a clamp for tubing when we go to siphon later. And this is a cap for capping things. This kit is also going to include some things to sanitize. And it looks like they've also included yeast nutrients, which I actually bought a larger bag of that. I love it. This is day one nutrient. So after you have mixed up your mead, you need to feed the yeast a little bit more to keep it alive and going as it's slowly going to start eating the sugars from the honey. This kind of gives them a swift kick in the rear to get things started. And then of course, this is the original yeast that you will mix in to get the original mixture set up and ready to go. So this is our yeast, day one nutrients for days 2 and 5. Basically, it's more of this, but then you feed them again. And then this is for sanitizing the carboy and any parts that come in contact with all of the mead making. This is the wand used for racking the mead to start transferring down the tube out of the carboy and into our bottles. This is the carboy. It holds around a gallon. There's a nice handle. Assemblage would stick in just like that. This tubing is what we will use with the racking system. What you'll notice when making mead and trying to transfer is you'll see a lot of sediment fall. That is the yeast that has died and has settled down. So once all of my sediment has cleared, the liquid is see-through. It's just that beautiful amber color and all the sediment is at the bottom. We're nearing the end of completion and it's probably time to start racking into our bottles. And of course, this is particularly helpful in getting all of that honey into here. Now something I found is putting this in a water bath. So I take like a saucepan, fill it with a little bit of water and turning it not quite to boiling, but just really, really warm. It makes the honey come out a little bit better. And then I tend to just, of course with the lid off, set it in there and it slowly drips out down the funnel and into there without any mess. And it's wonderful. And then I maximize the amount that I can get out of the jug. And also too, the sooner that you use honey, the better. Even the most high quality honey out there will still crystallize over time. It has a lot of sugar content. And if you do notice that it has started crystallizing, just remelt it in a water bath. But the sooner the better. It's just going to make things a lot smoother for you. Incredibly grateful that Craft-a-Brew decided to work with me on making content for you guys and really getting to explore with more recipes. So thanks a lot, Craft-a-Brew. And of course, if you're interested in making mead for yourself, you can find everything you need to make on their site, which I will have linked in my bio. This is my affiliate link, so it does give me a little bit of help to continue making content for you guys while also directly linking you to everything you need to get started. And of course, you can also visit my YouTube where I show the entire mead making process exactly to the instructions from Craft-a-Brew. So I will make sure that is linked as well. Let's get started.